Have you ever felt overwhelmed by clutter in the home? Well, if so, join us as I dive in with a professional organizer to tackle this pain. And get ready for tips and how to increase your home's appeal. Hello and welcome. This is Susanna Gentry with Real Estate Real Talk here in Northwest Arkansas. And on this show, I absolutely love just bringing you helpful information that can improve your life. And so today I have someone that is incredible. Wait until you hear all this information. She is a special guest and owner and founder of the Organizer Chicks. This is Amber Taggard, and she is a professional organizer, time management coach, we all need this, and a public speaker. She holds a Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health. And I love how she incorporates this. She's passionate about using her counseling, the psychology background to help create these peaceful environments in the home. So let me bring on Amber. Hello.
Hello.
Man,
Hi.
I could keep on going because you are still on the Blox. Is that correct? Yes,
That's
still.
right.
And
Yeah, a television show called The Blox, which is let's see, it gets billed as the world's largest live-in reality TV competition for entrepreneurs. And I was on season 5 as a contestant and won that season of the show, and then have
yes,
come back as a judge for seasons 13 and very recently 17. So it's been really fun.
that is amazing. And you've been a contributor to Forbes. You have given a TED Talk, which I absolutely loved. I've
Thank
listened
you.
to it twice. And
Yeah.
you and your husband have 4 children, correct?
We do. 4 kiddos between the ages of 13 and 7. So we're pretty busy.
And
We like it.
you know what? I think that people with children especially need organizational tips and things more than just the typical person. I mean, you've got shoes everywhere. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
So
we do
you're right
too, just
there.
so you know.
Say it again.
And we do too, just so you know, even a professional organizer, I hope people live in their homes and enjoy them
Yes.
and can
Yes.
comfortably kick off their shoes and relax. And then
Yes.
I hope that you pick them up at the end of the night and put them where they go so you'll feel better in the morning.
Yeah, that just kind of spurs a little funny memory. I'm from a family of 8 kids, so there was 10 of us, and we'd be getting
Wow.
ready for church, and there was always several people, several kids that couldn't find their shoes. So it was like, yeah, shoes and children for sure. Well, can you tell everybody just a little bit about how you got started? You've got quite a
Yeah.
history.
You bet. And this is a strange thing to do for a living, especially with my education. Again, so I have a Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health. And most people are therapists. They do counseling psychology with that
Mhm.
background. And I only half laughingly say that this is the cheapest therapy you'll ever buy, is to have someone like me and our flock of chicks come to your home and help you create, order, peace, and productivity out of chaos. But really, the way I got interested in this, certainly part personality. I'm a firstborn child, and I've always been just a little bit type A, and learned that I just function better. I feel better. I have more patience when my physical environment is just orderly. And it's not about living inside a Martha Stewart catalog where you
Yeah.
can't sit on the furniture or touch anything.
Right.
But
Right.
I just learned at a very early age, I feel better, I do better, I act better when I'm comfortable in my environment. And so I took that personality with me into school. And when I got into grad school, I got really interested in productivity and barriers to productivity because I saw that the clients that I was talking with and counseling with, yes, they were stressing over large relationship issues, but at the root of a bunch of it were little mundane stresses. And
Mm.
I came across a statistic that the average American wastes 17 minutes a day every day looking for things they've lost or misplaced.
Mm.
And so the first thing I did in my nerdy brain was math. What is 17 minutes a day looking for that shoe before church, right? What is
Right.
that times a week, a month, the lifespan?
Right.
And it ends up that we are giving away almost 500,000 minutes which equates to
Wow.
49.25 weeks, day and night of
Wow.
life. That's very nearly a full calendar year that we are
Wow.
giving away to something that is A, avoidable, and B, negative. During those 17 minutes a day, we're not being kind to ourselves and saying affirming things. We're not being sweet to the kiddos. No, we're yelling
Right.
and we're leaving the
Right.
house and then cutting people off in traffic because we're running late again. And
Right.
so I just realized that's avoidable. I don't lose 17 minutes every day, which made me think, why? Why do I not do this
Mhm.
normal thing?
Mhm.
And honestly, it's because I have a terrible memory. And I had to learn as a child that in order to compensate for my bad memory, if I needed to know when the assignment was due, if I needed to get to soccer practice on time and have both of my cleats, I had to develop organization and time management skills.
Mhm.
And from that weakness was born strength. And so I
Yeah.
decided, you know what, I think I have a weird personality type and education that can maybe help people in a very real way in the most important place, the
Yeah.
home. And
Yeah.
so in 2011, I started a company called The Organizer Chick, singular, just a girl and her label maker.
Right. Right.
And in 2011, there was no HGTV show about organization. There were no best selling books about it. This was a weird thing to be doing, especially in middle America. And I didn't know if people would pay for my services or not, but lo and behold, they did. And I got really busy. And then I brought on an assistant. And I thought, this is great. She'll take half the workload and I'll take half the workload. But she got just as busy as I was.
Yeah.
And then the real magic happened when we worked together on projects. And as they say, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. And that was certainly true for me. And I realized that team is the way forward. And so we pluralized the name to the Organizer Chicks and have just continued to grow. We have 37 total chicks now
Wow.
in 5 flocks. So in addition to
Well,
Northwest Arkansas, we serve Central Arkansas, Kansas
yeah.
City, Houston, Texas, and as of very recently, Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so one of the things as we're going to dive in, one thing that I always notice, and I wonder if you've come into it as well, when people are looking at listing their homes, they're embarrassed to have me come in
Yeah.
and look because they don't want to show that clutter or they don't want to show the back rooms or the garage or and I mean, do you ever come into that, where they won't even call for your services because they want to clean up first? It's like, I have some friends seriously on if they do have a cleaner and
Mm-hmm.
they want to clean up before the house cleaner comes, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's such a mess. I got to clean up. I'm like, no, you have a house cleaner.
That's what
And
we're here for. Yeah.
yeah, so you run into that as well?
All the time. It is
Yeah.
often a huge act of bravery for someone to just pick up the phone in the first
Yeah.
place because
Yeah.
the world tells us, especially let's be honest, as women, we're supposed to do all of the things. We're
Yeah.
supposed to somehow be a full time CEO and a stay at home
Right.
mom and wear high heels
Right.
every day. I mean, it's
Right.
ridiculous. And then we have
Right.
this mean girl world in which we're not always kind to each other
Mhm.
and we're
Mhm.
certainly not always kind to
Mhm.
ourselves. And we
Mhm.
expect some maybe ridiculous and unfair things from
Yeah.
ourselves. And so I'm a huge fan of helping people understand that we as professional organizers are absolutely not judging you. When
Right.
we see a before, we're just excited because
Mhm.
we can see how to get through that. We know the
Mhm.
processes. We're not
Yeah.
emotionally attached to your things.
Right.
And we
Right.
can see how to create that after. And that's what we love doing. So
Right.
you're not going to
Right.
scare us. You
Yeah.
should definitely not feel embarrassed. If befores
Yeah.
didn't exist, we wouldn't get to create afters. And that's what we love
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah.
I hope anyone who's listening who's been like, I know I need to call in some help, but I'm worried about being judged.
Right.
Please know that anyone worth
Right.
their salt is not judging you and is just so proud of you for reaching out for help. You're good
Right.
at 22 things that I'm not. And that's
Right.
not just okay, it's awesome. It's how we're supposed to need each other. And that
Right.
makes the world go around that we have different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, yeah. So I see it on the other side where,
Mm-hmm.
they want to sell the house, they need to move on, they've been dreaming about being in a different location, but they're stuck here because they're waiting for that day they're going to get organized. So
Yeah.
I see that over and over. And I'm like you. I seriously love my the before and after, with whether it's
Yeah.
organizing, whether it's staging, helping them present. So yeah, I just wanted to speak to that as well because this is
Yeah.
not something that we don't see every day. Like
Every
if
day.
you go to a doctor and you have this cut, he sees it every day. There's so many things when you're
Yeah.
professional, you're used to it. and it's not like the end of the world. So,
At all.
anyways,
Yeah.
so let's dive into what do you think are some of the most common clutter issues sellers face when they're getting ready to list?
Right. So we've all heard of being nose blind, where we can't smell the smells that are constantly around us anymore.
Uh-huh.
And we also know that clutter blindness exists.
Mm-hmm.
When we are inside a space daily and all the time,
Mm-hmm.
we just lose the ability to really see it for what it is, and
Mm-hmm.
certainly to see it as a potential buyer is going to see it.
Uh-huh.
We tend to overlook, minor imperfections, personalization. And so that's a common tool is that, yeah, that kid that ever existed too. You have to
So I
not.
wonder, I think I lost you there
Oh no.
at your, yeah, I think it was just a glitch in the stream, but we've got you back. So,
Okay, so
okay,
sorry.
so can you repeat that last sentence?
Sure. Yes. No, I was just saying, just like we become nose blind, we can become clutter blind, and it's easy for
Yeah,
us to overlook maybe intense personalization, lots of pictures of our own kids, or
right,
lots of
right.
little projects that don't seem like they're that big a deal, but like probably there's just a bunch of stuff on our kitchen counters, right? So I would say
Right.
that's the key is to try to walk through in a very neutral, emotionally detached way and see that property as a potential buyer would be seeing, and what they
Right.
want to see is the ability to imagine themselves in that space.
Right, right. So yeah, definitely the declutter part and your first impressions. What is it? Like 5 to 7 seconds to
Seven
make that
seconds. Yeah.
impression? 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. I mean, that goes by fast. So you got to go to your front door and just stand there and just
Yes.
kind of look around the things that hide from you when you
Yeah.
see it all the time, you
Well, and
know?
this is a good reason to maybe not go for sale by owner and go with a trusted realtor.
Hmm.
Hire a professional organizer,
Yeah.
because we oftentimes just get so stuck in our own perspective. It's really hard to take that step back and
Yeah.
be, emotionally unplugged from the situation like somebody else would be able to
Right.
do.
Right, right, absolutely. And there's so many things that have attachments, oh, this is my grandma's this or
Yes.
my dad's this. And that's especially hard. I don't know
Hmm.
about you, Amber, but that's
Yeah.
really hard. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
listing going live this week and I've run into that a couple thousand
Yeah.
times. But so we could go down a whole other path on
Absolutely.
that. But how about some, quick organization tips, just that anybody
Yeah.
could take away, to focus on?
Yeah. So, a great tip that I would say if you're getting ready to stage your home for sale, or if you just want to really get organized and pared down, it's important to understand that a lot of what looks and feels like organization actually is a ratios game.
Hmm.
So it comes down to math. And a great tip is to stand, let's say, at the entrance to your primary bedroom.
Hmm.
Take a picture of that space on your phone so that it's in a two-dimensional format, and then close your eyes. And imagine walking into a hotel room that you've once stayed in. And
Hmm.
just pull up that image of what that looked like and what it felt like to walk
Hmm.
into that space. And remember how you felt that sense of, oh, I'm going to be able to rest and relax
Right,
here.
right.
You have a physiological response to the low ratio of items to square footage in a hotel room, because the human
Wow.
mind, we want to have a cohesive, this makes sense feeling about a space. And when we walk
Wow.
into a space that's cluttered, even if it's cluttered with things we love, even if it's
Right,
dad's memorabilia and the
right,
tchotchkes from the trips you've taken, even if
right.
individually we love those little mementos, it collectively creates noise. And
Wow.
our brain, again, does not like noise, especially in our restful spaces. It wants cohesion. And so
Wow.
open your eyes from imagining up this picture in your head of the hotel, and then look at your two-dimensional picture of your phone. And the reason I say to take a picture of it instead of just look into the room is because there's something powerful about seeing that space in a two-dimensional format. It
Hmm.
depersonalizes it a little bit. You're now no longer inside your bedroom. You're
Right.
just better able to look with more of a, not so optimistic look at the actual
Right.
space. And then
Right.
juxtapose that. What did that image of the hotel room that was restful with that low ratio look like versus what does my actual room look like? And that will help you to kind of compare and contrast what changes might need to be made and how can I lower that ratio of items to square footage.
Yeah, wow. That is such a good point. And I could really go into that because just clearing up the mental space, that's really crazy how it, interacts with the number of items. I hadn't heard
Mhm.
that before. That is so good. So what are some of the common mistakes if they're jumping in?
Yeah.
And this is prior to calling you because I got to clean up before they call you.
I hope they don't.
Okay. So, but if they want to tackle some organization for
Mhm.
themselves, what would be, some mistakes to avoid or some tips that you can offer there?
Yeah. I think probably the number one mistake is something we've already kind of touched on a little bit is we don't depersonalize enough. We don't
Yeah.
take away the family photos enough. We don't have the ability to maybe really step back from stuff. But a good tip I would give here is actually an invitation to experience a little bit of a paradigm shift. We tend to the word for clutter in the English language, it's a singular noun, right? It's clutter. It's one holistic thing. And we talk about it that way. We walk into the room and we say, oh my goodness, look at this clutter.
Mm,
And because of that, we feel oftentimes very overwhelmed to the point that we are just frozen in inactivity. We're stuck. We don't even know where to begin. And what I would invite you to do is to understand that actually clutter, all of it is just the result of delayed decisions and deferred
mm.
actions.
Oh my
All
God.
of clutter is just stuff that we didn't carry through on. It's the
Yeah.
shoes we kicked off and didn't put away.
Yeah.
It's the mail we plopped down on the counter instead of putting in the inbox or the trash can, let's be
Right.
honest, right?
Right.
Or it's
Right.
decisions we didn't make, right?
Right.
It's I took this shirt off after I wore it for an hour and a half and I couldn't decide if it was clean or dirty. So I threw it over the back of this chair as if it's going to get more
Right.
clean overnight on the back of the
Right.
chair, right? And it
Right.
sounds ludicrous,
Right.
but of course we all do that. But once we
Yeah.
recognize that this is actually me delaying a decision, I just need to
Mm.
make a call. I need to come up with
Wow.
a protocol and say, if I have worn this on my body for more than half an hour, I'm just going to go ahead and wash it again. And once we just make that decision, then we can take action on it. So the beauty of understanding that clutter is delayed decisions and deferred actions is that it helps us to stop talking about it as clutter, this one holistic, giant, overwhelming thing. And it helps us to see that it is, in fact, we should have it a plural noun, clutters.
Wow.
It's individual
Wow.
things. And most of
Wow.
them are 2 minute or less tasks. And
Oh my
so when we
God.
start to kind of see the world in that way a little bit, it's I'm going to take my plate and put it right into the dishwasher after I rinse it off. I'm not going to plop it in the sink
Tell your
and then touch
kids
it
that
again
one,
later. Yeah, exactly.
right?
So, but that
Oh
paradigm
God.
shift kind of from thinking about clutter to clutters and being
Yeah.
willing to see that I'm delaying a decision, I'm deferring an action, I'm creating clutter for myself. That's empowering for two reasons. One is that it helps us to undo the damage once
Mm,
clutter has been created. It's not
yeah.
so overwhelming when you recognize I just have to do one little thing at a time. And the second powerful thing is that it will help us to avoid creating clutter in the first place from now on.
Right.
If we have the understanding that if I plop this nail on the counter, that's something I have to come back and revisit later. I'm
Right.
delaying a decision. So,
Right, right. Yeah, this is one of my favorite lines when I'm going through with people, whether it's, getting ready to stage and all that,
yeah.
is find a home for where it's going. It doesn't get placed from the table to the
Hmm.
couch or the counter. I mean,
Yeah.
just put it to the ultimate home,
Yeah.
So on that is kind of like the last question I was going to ask is
Hmm.
what are some of the services? How do your services help the sellers in, preparing for listing or
Yeah.
just decluttering? Yeah.
Absolutely. So we offer several things that are very helpful when someone's putting their home on the market. And the first is we call it a discard and donate service.
Mm,
So
okay.
most Americans just have too much stuff.
Right.
We have just under 4% of the world's children and over 40% of the world's toys. So
Mm,
we tend to have too
wow.
much stuff. We need to let
Wow.
go of things. So that's a great first step. And in fact, you
Yeah.
really can't create organization until you've decluttered. and you really can't create design until you've organized. And so everything is an elevation of the thing that happened before. We need to declutter, then we can come in and organize, and then we can come in and create design from that space. So decluttering is huge. For some people, finding home for the thing just does not come naturally. It's
Right.
not as easy as just, oh, it makes sense to me. And so creating organization is good. But we also offer a service that's called a pre-pack. And this is when you still live in the home and you're going to live there for the next foreseeable small future while your home is on the market. You need to be comfortable there, but
Right.
you need it to be ready to show at a moment's notice and to take great pictures when the photographer comes,
Right.
because we know that homes really do sell based on their listings. People have oftentimes really already made a decision before they ever come see the home in the first place based off those listing photos. And we know that staged homes are going to sell faster and for closer to asking price than those that are not staged. And so we want you to have the aesthetic of a staged home, but the comfort of a home that you're still living in. And so we come in and we do what is called a pre-pack, in which we help you pack away those things that you're not going to use for the next 3 to 6 weeks, right? So this time of year, maybe it's okay if we pack up swimsuits and tank tops.
Right.
Maybe, maybe it's just time to do some letting go. We want to make sure that countertops are absolutely clear, that all of the floor space is free and easy. If you have the hugest closet in the world and every inch of that closet is full, it sends the message that there is not enough storage in this home.
Right.
And so we really want to be mindful of what is the psychology of your home saying to a potential buyer.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just having your friends over.
Yeah.
So, man, I could talk on and on to you, Amber. I love this topic, and I just absolutely love the psychology of it and how you feel better in a clean, tidy home. So, but for the sake of time and for this show, we're going to wrap it up. And I'm going to put all of your contact information. We had talked earlier. I mean, you're easy to find on the internet. I mean, you're everywhere. So
Just
do you
Google
just
the
have them?
organizer chicks.
Yeah, the organizer chicks, yes. And I'll have it linked into the video. And so, everyone, I hope that you found value in this information tonight. If you have questions, make sure you drop us a comment. Reach out to me directly. I would love to help. And don't forget to like the video and hit subscribe button. Oh, and ring the bell so you don't miss an update. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.